That date Trey warned me about took place roughly 3 days later. This time Sam had suggested a different restaurant, though declined telling me where it was nor its name. She said something about that ruining the surprise. I didn't take much of what she said seriously anymore, to the point of writing it off right after she said it. I don't have much trouble disclosing that since I was the polar opposite before she answered that call. My distaste was earned as far as I was concerned. Still, I had to hide my contempt for my parents, preventing them from making any speeches or lengthy remarks about I should practice the Christian ethic of forgiveness, only for me to respond that I'd already forgiven, but not forgotten. My attire for the date was a collared shirt of a varying color, black pants, and black shoes, the same as always. For as many times as I had seen my little sister running around here in overalls and sandals, she came out of her room an hour before the date and surprised me. "What?" Sarah said as I stared at her. "Green color shirt, black pants, and black shoes," I said, looking over to my father and speaking in a joking tone. "What sort of infringement on my swag is this?" "She's just trying to maintain the color code," he replied, looking at Sarah. "You do what Augustus wants you to do, you hear?" "Yeah, Dad," she said, walking over to me. "Have her back earlier than normal, son." "I intend to," I told him. We stepped out of the front door of our home, me locking it behind us, while the two of us were approaching my car. I gave Sarah a glance and noticed a smile on her face while she hopped to the vehicle. "Seems you're going to enjoy this more than me," I told her. "But I thought you really liked Sam," she said. I bent down to face her, stopping our walk cycle. "I do, but I've also really liked other women, and do you want to know what Sam has in common with other women?" I asked her. "What?" "She doesn't like me as much as I like her." "Then how much does she like you?" "Enough to want to go on a date, that's about all I can confirm." I placed my hands on the steering wheel and drove off the sidewalk. The traffic getting there was light, and most of the vehicles failed to catch my attention, save for a pink-colored Volkswagen Beetle. There was a small sign that said something about supporting breast cancer, and I turned my there was a small sign that said something about supporting breast cancer awareness, and I turned my eyes when the green light flickered to look at other vehicles. I then felt the tap on my shoulder from Sarah, who was sitting in the back seat. "What's breast cancer?" "One of the worst conditions a person can have." "But only women have breasts, so it must be one of the worst things a woman can have." "Both genders can get it. Edward Brooke had it during his last few years." "Who?" "The Republican Massachusetts senator." She didn't make any more inquiries. I figured she wouldn't either, as the idea of learning about something historical was enough to make most kids retreat. It was about 3 minutes in between the exchange and when we arrived in the parking lot, which for some reason was filled with very few cars. I made little speculation of this fact when exiting my vehicle and walking closer to the restaurant building, feeling a tug at my leg when grabbing the front door of the establishment. "How come you like going to places where there's barely any people?" Sarah asked. "It usually has more," I answered. I moved from the door and used the same hand that grabbed it to move her over to the side, getting on my knees. "What are you doing?" Sarah asked with a smirk. "Getting you to understand something," I replied. I pointed at the door. "In there is a woman that I'm seeing. I need you to not trigger anything during this." "Trigger?" "Don't say anything that might start a massive disagreement." "I don't know how to do that." She had the sincerity there, but something was missing. I could sense some doubt that wasn't common in her characteristics. "Never mind," I said, getting back on my feet. I opened the door and she walked in ahead of me. Sam was standing in a corner with her arms folded. "Hey," Sam said, briefly looking at me and then at Sarah. "Looks like we're a party of three today." "I hope you don't mind me being here," Sarah said. "I don't mind." While the two mingled, I stepped away by a few inches to book our seats. The three of us then followed a male cashier who announced he would be serving as our waiter and asked what drinks we wanted to start our time there off. Sam ordering a Coke, my sister getting a Sprite, and me having some water. The waiter departed after the orders were done. "You sure are bland," Sam said with a smile. I looked back at her with indifference. "I probably should have banned Sarah from being able to have any soda," I said. "But that would be bland," Sarah replied. "Why do you think I didn't do it?" I gave a slight smirk, one to show that some part of me was amused with the affair. "I'm guessing that we're going to spend the rest of this thing just trying to make a conversation," I told Sam. "We can't really say all that much with her here," she said. Sarah looked at me and then at Sam when she spoke. "Wait," Sarah said, her eyes widened. "You guys are talking about me?" I nodded my head. "We'll just have to talk about things you like," Sam told her. "What are you into, Sarah?" "I like talking, watching some TV, and sometimes I play football," she answered. "You have really diverse interests." "Yeah, my dad was the one that got me into it, so it's a family thing." "Uh-huh. It skipped over my brother. He doesn't play any sports." The only time I ever considered doing it was when a guy told me that it would make women like me. I added. Isn't that a good enough reason to play? Sam asked. No, the worst feeling in the world is dedicating yourself to something to appeal to people and not having the desired result occur. Desired result? What you want mainly from doing that thing. Whatever we do should have some purpose beyond going to bed, or it doesn't amount to being fulfilling. I can get that. The waiter came with our drinks. It was at that point the three of us ordered our food. When I was sipping my water, I noticed the vehicle pull up in front of the restaurant. The driver was a young-looking guy and threw his head close to the steering wheel. I could hear the sound of someone's phone going off moments later, and I knew it wasn't mine or Sarah, as the latter did not have one. Did you get a message on your phone? I asked Sam, who nodded his head. I looked at her as though wanting her to continue speaking and reveal who it was, even as she continued drinking her Coke. Are you going to celebrate? I asked. My mom wants to know how the date was going, she answered. What did you tell her? That it was going good. Those were the exact words you wrote? Yeah, 17 more to go. What? 16 more to go. Sarah laughed. 20 questions, Sarah said, looking at me. The fall moments were composed of our meals being delivered to us by the same waiter from before. After we had consumed our meals, the three of us went to the counter, where I paid for both Sarah and myself and put out additional funds to pay for Sam. Don't, she said, removing her wallet from her pocket. I didn't mind the gesture. It was increasing my net worth after all, but in spite of my distaste for how she had behaved previously, I just thought it customary to fund her expenses. I opened the door for two of them as we went outside, and suddenly my heart stopped, figuratively of course. The same driver that had pulled up while we were in the middle of eating rolled his window down and looked into my eyes, giving me a smile. Hey bro, thanks for taking my girl out to eat, he said in broken English and with an accent that was more informal than it was cultured. I looked over to see Sam walking to his car's passenger seat, getting on the side next to him. Whoa, Sarah said with surprise. The vehicle backed up and drove off about as fast as I had ever seen one go before. Huh? I said, staring where the vehicle had been.